This short video clip gives you some background into quantitative research. We can start off by thinking about why we should wish to undertake quantitative research. Well, this slide gives an indication, or one indication, why that might be. Clearly, there are a lot of topics in which there are vast amounts of information and data, and it's important to have the tools and techniques to be able to collect that data and analyse it. That clearly takes us in the direction of statistics, which is touched on this slide. Another reason to undertake quantitative research is because your research paradigm is quantitative in nature. This probably means that your ontology is objectivist in nature, your epistemology is positivist in nature, leading to a quantitative methodology. A reminder that ontology is the study of what is real or what is important, and in the context of quantitative research, typically researchers would have an objectivist ontology. Epistemology means the study of knowledge and how it is obtained. And typically, if you're in quantitative research, you are a positivist. Research methodology then is the overall approach to research which influences your choice of research methods, and of course that is quantitative. A reminder that your belief in what is real, your ontology, influences the way you wish to collect your knowledge, your epistemology, which then takes you towards either quantitative or qualitative methodology, or it could be mixed, and that in turn influences the methods you select for your research. We can talk about quantitative paradigms, but you'll also come across these terms as research paradigms involving quantitative study. Typically then positivist, we think of a positivist epistemology, but we can also refer to a positivist research paradigm, which is typically in the realms of obtaining knowledge by measuring and observing in a very empirical way. Post-positivism or realism takes that one step further. It indicates that the real world cannot simply be summarized by measuring and observing, and there has to be some element of interpretation as well. The pragmatic paradigm is directed at answering the research question. So what we tend to find is that positivists will employ a quantitative methodology and a quantitative research design. Post-positivists, realists and pragmatists tend to move towards research designs that are mixed methods in their approach, because approaches that are purely quantitative will not fully answer the research questions they're posing. We will now move on to consider some typical features of quantitative research. And first of all, the research methods used generally involve empirical observation, and there is a focus on measurement. The data obtained are therefore quantitative and very often use a scale, such as height and weight and temperature. Ordinal data are possible. That's the sort of data we get from a Likert scale in a survey. The approach is often deductive, meaning that there is an underlying hypothesis which is proved or disproved. There may be a wish to generalize research outputs into other contexts. There may also be a desire to obtain a simple solution or principle. We call this reductionism. Quantitative research is usually repeatable if it's done well. In other words, the same results should be obtained each time a particular research method is employed. Lastly, on this slide, you'll come across reference to determinism or causality, with researchers sometimes looking for cause and effect, but this is not a good principle to employ, and it's generally best to obtain your data first and just comment on what it shows rather than inferring cause and effect. In the previous slide, we touched on the type of data obtained from quantitative research, and this slide gives further information. Many quantitative studies produce scale or interval ratio data. These data are numerical data with clear fixed intervals. Continuous variables have intermediate values, so variables such as height and weight. Ordinal data are data which can be rank ordered, but where the differences between categories are not clear or fixed. So, for example, the difference between agree and agree strongly may be interpreted differently by different people. The interval is not actually fixed, as it would be in, say, the difference between 1 degree Celsius and 2 degrees Celsius. Nominal or categorical data are data which describe the names or categories of qualitative concepts. So, for example, colour or gender. Lastly, another feature of quantitative research that you may come across is operationalisation. This means putting research into operation and involves the quantification of concepts, i.e. using numbers. And the use of indicators comes into this category. For example, the use of a Likert scale using numbers 1 to 5, for example, to represent agreement or state of satisfaction, etc. The picture on the right of the slide gives an example of operationalisation, and this shows personal space and actually operationalises it by the use of distance. So you're actually looking at, if you like, the distance or the radius of those potential circles of social space.